Squat form. I am going to be teaching you a squat known as a Squatty squat in this strength training program. I highly encourage you to invest in a set of wedges. These are foam wedges that I got off of Amazon. I think they were around $20. You can find ones that are wooden and are more expensive, or you can find ones that are a lot cheaper, like these. These have always worked great for me. I think my kids have like bitten out some of it, but they still work just fine. I highly encourage you to have some of these on your own because it is going to help you perfect this type of squat. You can use weight plates, you can use yoga blocks, but they're not quite as good as a wedge. So if you can, I really encourage you to get some wedges for yourself. All right, the reason that I teach you a Squatty squat is because it makes sure that we are getting a different motion in our training than a hinge. A lot of times we will hinge our squat and squat our hinge, or vice versa. That simply means that a lot of times when we're doing squats, they look quite hingy. So if you think about sometimes when you watch somebody do a squat and it looks like this. So are my hips going back more, or are they going down more here? You're like, they're going back. So that's a hinge. So that's a lot more of a hingy squat than a squatty squat. The reason we use the heels elevated is that it kind of lowers the barrier to entry for a really nice squatty squat. For a number of reasons, this can be difficult, especially during pregnancy, to get that more vertical displacement of the hips. When we use the wedges, we are able to get a bit more vertical displacement of the hips versus horizontal displacement of the hips like we do in a hinge. When I am talking about vertical displacement of the hips, I am talking about a squat where our hips are coming down like such versus going back first. We want to make sure that we're able to start in a position where our torso is stacked on top of our rib cage and our entire center of mass isn't falling forward to begin with. This wedge helps us make that possible. I'm going to show you an example of a squatty squat, but we'll have to show you on one leg because I currently have a knee that is a little bit broken. But I can still show you an example of a squatty squat on my other leg. I've just got to use a little bit of assistance, but we're still going to make this happen, so let's do it. When you are doing this, you're going to be using two legs. We're not going to use one leg at a time for now. You're going to be using two legs, and here are the main things that you want to remember. When you start out, we want to make sure that we can kind of move our pelvis underneath us just a little bit without squeezing your butt, okay? You don't need to squeeze this under to get in a good starting position. You want to be able to tilt your pelvis under you slightly when you start. The next thing that we want to do is be able to exhale and think about hugging baby and kind of letting those ribs settle down a bit. If you are really pregnant, you may think my ribs aren't going anywhere. My baby is all up in there, and that is fine. For you, that exhale may feel a little more like hugging baby, getting some tension from the bottom up, and that is okay. Now, when you are starting to go down into a squat, one of the first things you want to think about is we don't want to start out with the hips going back, okay? So again, this isn't a hinge. That's not what we're trying to do. When we're starting out in a squat here, what we want to do is you can see that I'm starting with my hips slightly behind of my knees. I don't need to start here, okay? Knees are softly bent, and then I'm going to posteriorly tilt tiny bit. My hips are slightly behind my knees. Now from here, you're going to be doing it on two legs, but we want to think about going down first versus going back first, okay? So we're going to come down first, and then you will start to go back slightly as you come down. You're not going to stay completely vertical. That is not the goal. You're going to come back slightly as you go down, but we want to try to avoid this right here. We also want to try to avoid this, okay? So we're trying to keep the glutes at a really nice even length, okay? If we start doing this, it's going to make them get bigger. If we do this, it's gonna make them get smaller. So we want them to basically stay kind of at that same length the whole way down, okay? So we're gonna go down here, and notice my hips are coming back some, but they're not getting hingy. Then we're gonna come up here, up, and we end in the same position we started in. I really love squatty squats because you can get super creative with them. You don't have to just do them with kettlebells, you can do them with barbells. So this includes front squats. You can really load these up but get a great stimulus to your core at the same time. And they're also great for pregnancy because they keep us in that stacked position and keep us from really overextending a lot. All right, that is your squatty squat tutorial, and I will see you in the next video.